Anson, your tenure in North Carolina, of course, has coincided with some really good teams in various other sports. Uh, Men's basketball and football are kind of front and center. And really, the pattern has been for decades upon decades is if you come to a school like North Carolina, you perform, you have a lot of success, then the opportunity presents itself for you to potentially play professionally and get some money. That's kind of been flipped on its head the last 2 years with name, image, and likeness coming into being. Curious as to your take on NIL and if you see positives there, and also if you see some negatives.
The only fear I have with the negatives is the unscrupulous coaches that are doing it wrong, that are basically guaranteeing, income for kids when they're not allowed to. So there are all sorts of ways that this can be exploited, and we all know that there's a whole collection of people that basically coach without honor, that cheat at every opportunity as long as they can get away with it. And so that's the fear with NIL, is that people will be doing it inappropriately to gain a recruiting advantage. And so for me, that's the issue. But from every other perspective, I think it's very positive. I love the fact that Mondo is still with us. And I know one reason he is. He's with us because NIL has taken care of him in the most aggressive way, which I consider very positive for him and for us, because I get to continue to have him represent my great university. Because obviously I would love for all of our teams here to do well. So anything that extends the lifespan of a great athlete by staying here with us is a positive. So I look at that as a positive. And then I look at, people like May that, could go anywhere. And obviously money's been dangled in front of him like you wouldn't believe. And there was a wonderful event I was invited to where that family were the guest speakers. I really like everything about that family. I love the old man. I play pickleball with him. I mean, the guy can barely move. And yet, if you lift that pickleball too high, that ball is being driven right through your throat, because the guy still has upper body strength like you wouldn't believe, just like his old quarterback days at UNC. But I love the way he's raised his family. I mean, he's got national champions all over the place. I guess baseball and obviously basketball. And now he's got an incredible son that everybody wants, that's dangling money in front of him. And the family's just not tempted because this is a family that lives a principle-centered life. And I have so much admiration for the people that are in a position to exploit this to their own advantage. And yet they don't, because for them, there's a different value system. There are things like there's loyalty. And for me, just seeing this family, but also knowing this wonderful, humble patriarch in the old man that I really, really like, and to see that, he's leaving a legacy, and his legacy is, planting seeds in a garden he will never see, because that's what he's passing down. He's passing down stuff, in my opinion, that is so incredibly valuable. And has this been tested? Yeah, it's been tested. And there are a lot of families that don't have the principal center to reject a pile of cash. And obviously, there's some families that certainly desperately need it. So please don't think that I'm completely ignorant of the fact that in some environments, these are choices that are made by NIL in a very aggressive financial way. And I get that. But for a lot of us, it's not. And to see that family navigate this so gracefully, I'm just so proud that that man was a quarterback for us, and one of his sons played basketball for us, and another son is playing football for us, and that's the Carolina way. And for me, I am so proud of so many things about this great university, but that family, when we're talking about NIL, is one of them.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with you there, Anson. The May families is just fantastic from top to bottom. And talk about principles, they have them. Critics of NIL, and this is something I don't agree with, but some of the critics kind of come at it as a they say these kids have never really had anything. Now there's an opportunity for them to get a little bit, which means maybe they're not going to work as hard because that money is much more easily available to them. And if they didn't have the money, therefore they would work harder and have more success. Sounds like you just completely dismissed that. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I mean, for me, the true competitors aren't driven by money. I don't think Michael Jordan was driven by the fact that his mother negotiated an incredible contract for him with Nike. I don't think all of a sudden Michael, after this was negotiated, said, "Oh my gosh, yeah, I'm going to start trying now." No, the guy was competitive as hell, so he didn't need this. And I think the great ones don't need this. Now, are you rewarded for being extraordinarily competitive and successful in athletics? Absolutely. But I've never believed that money is the driving factor for anyone. I just don't believe it. I just think that there are people that are incredibly competitive, and there are ones that aren't. And the ones that aren't, having some money dangled out there isn't going to change them. And the ones that are competitive, not having money out there didn't change them. I mean, one of the most competitive athletes I've ever coached in my life is a woman by the name of April Heinrichs. And she had this fire when back in her day, there was no money on the table for her ever. I mean, that she could foresee. So that's not why she competed. She just enjoyed beating people to death. And so, yeah, I don't think that's the incentive.